And as far as Diddy will go to prison for life, people. You don't know things that I knew about Diddy back in the day, and you want to know what? It's about time, people. It is about time.
All right. Buckle up, because what we're about to dive into might change everything you thought you knew about the recent wildfires in Los Angeles. These fires weren't just another tragic natural disaster. What if I told you they were actually part of a much larger, much darker scheme? Wendy Williams just dropped some bombshell receipts that could expose a massive cover-up. And it's not just about land grabs or insurance scams. This is way deeper than that. So, let's break it down. We all know that wildfires are unfortunately common in California. But this particular fire has the feeling of something planned. It didn't spread randomly. It was too precise, almost like someone had a roadmap.
There's no protocol for what's about to happen. The world is going to crumble when they see this next arrest. In the meantime, there's going to be deaths, distractions, and fires to hide evidence. Watch for it, ask questions, demand answers.
Of exactly where to hit. Whole communities wiped out. Over 200,000 people displaced. At least 28 lives lost. More than 12,000 buildings reduced to ash. But here's where it gets interesting. Some of the most expensive real estate in LA was targeted. Hollywood elites weren't spared. Think about it. Multi-million-dollar estates belonging to stars like Julia Louis-Dreyfus, Bella Hadid, and Jeff Bridges were destroyed. Jamie Lee Curtis broke down on national TV, devastated that her entire neighborhood was gone in the blink of an eye. We're talking about the schools her kids went to, the grocery store she shopped at, the homes of her friends, all gone, reduced to nothing but ash. It wasn't just random homes that were hit. The fire was calculated, aimed right at the wealthiest neighborhoods, burning down properties owned by Hollywood's A-list. Zoe and Emily Deschanel took to Instagram, grieving the loss of their childhood home that had been in their family for generations. Joshua Jackson, John Goodman, and Anthony Hopkins. They all lost their homes too. So the question is, why were these specific areas targeted? At first, it seemed like a tragic but natural disaster. But as more details came out, people started to ask, was this really an accident? Or was there something bigger at play? Now let's talk about something that really raises eyebrows: the insurance companies. Over the past few years, we've seen these companies pulling out of fire coverage in California, leaving homeowners with no protection. Policies were canceled, and thousands of people were left with nothing. And then, suddenly, everything goes up in flames. Was this just poor management? Or did they know something we didn't? And here's where it gets even wilder. Guess whose name is starting to pop up in all of this? None other than Diddy. That's right, the same Diddy who's already facing serious allegations tied to trafficking and racketeering is now somehow linked to these fires. There's a theory floating around that these fires weren't just about wiping out homes or making room for land grabs. They were about burning evidence. Evidence that could allegedly tie Diddy and his inner circle to something much darker than what we already know. Let's shift gears for a moment and talk about the water situation, because when you think about it, water is kind of a crucial element when you're trying to fight a fire. So, why were California's water reserves being restricted and drained right before these fires hit? Was it just poor planning? Or is there something more sinister going on here? When you start connecting the dots, it begins to look like everything was set up a little too perfectly. And now, here's where things really start to get suspicious. Some of Hollywood's biggest names, people like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah, Ashton Kutcher, and Leonardo DiCaprio somehow managed to escape the fires untouched. Not even a single scorch mark. Meanwhile, entire communities were wiped out. That's when people started to ask, how is it that the wealthiest and most powerful people in Hollywood were all safe when their neighbors lost everything? If you're still with me, let's dive deeper into a woman who's been sounding the alarm on Hollywood's darkest secrets for years. Ali Carr. You might not know her, but she's been trying to expose the underbelly of the entertainment industry for a long time. Carr claims that there's an underground trafficking network operated by some of the most influential people in Hollywood. She's even gone on record saying she was a victim of this network herself, and she's been trying to get people to take notice. And here's where it gets truly insane. Back in October, she warned that disasters like these fires would be used to cover up evidence. So, what kind of evidence are we talking about? Well, let's just say it's the kind of stuff that no one in Hollywood wants to see the light of day. And if you think that's crazy, buckle up.
There are underground tunnels that are under the schools, elementary, junior, and high schools all over the place. They exist everywhere.
Ali Carr also claims that the FBI uncovered underground tunnels at Diddy's property. Yes, you heard that right. Tunnels beneath his mansion. So, what could be hidden in those tunnels? And what does it have to do with the fires? Are they trying to erase the evidence before it comes out? Is all of this a coincidence? Or is something much more sinister? The more we dig into the details, the more it starts to feel like this wildfire wasn't just a disaster. It was a calculated move. Whether it's about covering up dark secrets or just straight up greed and power, one thing is for sure, the truth behind these fires goes far beyond what we're being told.
I'm telling you right now that something is really wrong. Really wrong. The world will find out soon. Because it's not just about us, it's about you too. It's not going to be enough until it is very personal.
Let me know what you think. Do you believe these fires were intentionally started to cover something up? Or is it just a tragic series of events? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content that pulls back the curtain on Hollywood's biggest secrets. What's supposedly hidden inside? Well, hold on tight, because this is where it gets really chilling. We're talking about things that would make your stomach turn. Baby oil and a hidden escape route that looked custom-made for sneaking people in and out without leaving a trace. It's the kind of setup you wouldn't expect in the heart of Hollywood, but that's exactly what some claim was going on beneath the surface. And now, just months later, places linked to these very secrets are mysteriously going up in flames. The timing? Too convenient to be a coincidence. Wendy Williams? Let's be real. She was practically punished for calling it like she saw it. Fired, blacklisted, threatened. Diddy did everything short of making her disappear. But Wendy, being Wendy, never backed down. She wasn't intimidated by all the roadblocks thrown her way. And when you look back now, it's clear. Wendy was saying a lot before people were even ready to hear it. Now, we all know Wendy hasn't been doing well. She's been off the radar for a while, dealing with serious health issues, and people have been wondering what's really going on behind the scenes. But now, she's back. And she's talking. And when Wendy talks, people listen. Back in the 90s, Wendy was that girl on the radio. Unfiltered, messy in the best way, and absolutely fearless. Meanwhile, Diddy was rising to power with Bad Boy Records, controlling hip-hop's biggest names like a puppet master. At first, they had this strange frenemies thing going on. Wendy played his artists on air, but she also didn't hold back. Then, in 1998, Wendy crossed a line for Diddy's liking when she started pushing rumors that he was secretly into men. Now, whether that's true or not, hip-hop in the late 90s was notoriously homophobic, so this wasn't just harmless gossip, it was career-ending talk. According to sources, Wendy had gotten her hands on a very questionable picture of Diddy. The image was from a vacation in Cancun, where someone allegedly yanked his swim trunks down. Let's just say it wasn't exactly a prank. The photo got sent to Wendy, and she was planning to expose it. Diddy, not one to back down, allegedly flexed his industry muscle. He got one of the hottest DJs off of Hot 97 just because Wendy was about to put that picture up. Before Wendy even got a chance to expose him, she was fired from Hot 97. Just like that. Diddy used his pull and blackmailed the station. He made it clear that if Wendy wasn't gone by the time he got back to New York, Hot 97 would never get another song from him or any of his industry friends. And just like that, Wendy was out. Now, most people would have learned their lesson and stayed quiet, but not Wendy. She doubled down. Instead of shutting up, she kept calling out Diddy. But Diddy wasn't done yet. He allegedly switched up his tactics. He reportedly sent his girl group, Total, to jump Wendy outside the radio station. Yes, you heard that right. An entire R&B group waiting to beat her up in broad daylight. Wendy later recounted how she stepped out of the building and saw the group standing there, hyped up and ready to go, while her own co-workers watched from the windows like they were waiting for a live episode of Love and Hip Hop. If it wasn't for her boyfriend at the time pulling up just in time, who knows what could have happened. Fast forward a bit. Wendy never really let go of her Diddy obsession. In 2013, she brought how hip-hop was full of closeted men back in the day, and she very clearly alluded to Diddy, stating that some rappers had multiple kids just to prove their manhood. She wasn't lying either. Diddy has 7 kids. By 2015, Wendy started connecting the dots regarding Diddy's control over women. She literally predicted same controlling behavior that Cassie later described in her lawsuit, how he would allegedly drug, isolate, and force her into disturbing situations. Looking back, Wendy was screaming the warnings, but nobody took her seriously. Then, in 2017, in one of the most awkward moments ever, Diddy actually went on the Wendy Williams show to squash the beef. It was so weird. Wendy, who had once been run out of New York because of him, was now sitting across, smiling and nodding. He called her the pioneer of hip-hop journalism, acting like he respected her while pulling out his usual smooth-talking charm. The whole thing felt staged, like he just wanted to keep her close, keep her calm so she wouldn't get too bold. But when Cassie finally broke free in 2018, Wendy didn't hold back. She tore into Diddy, calling out how Cassie wasted her time with a man 17 years older who treated her like a possession. And honestly, she wasn't wrong. Now, as Diddy faces multiple lawsuits and his empire begins to crumble, people are starting to realize that Wendy wasn't just talking out of turn. She saw the patterns. She knew things. And instead of being celebrated for exposing them, she was punished. But now, she's dropping receipts. According to Wendy, she's seen the names that haven't gone public yet. A-list celebrities, all connected to Diddy's operation. And guess what? A lot of them just so happen to have had their properties destroyed in the recent fires. The more you connect the dots, the messier this situation gets. Wendy's entire story is starting to look really suspicious. And honestly, the deeper you dig, the worse it gets. Since 2022, Wendy has been under a court-appointed guardianship, meaning every aspect of her life is controlled. Her money, her movements, even who she talks to. And let's be clear, she didn't sign up for this. Wendy has been vocal about her desire to get out of the arrangement, but so far, she's still stuck in it. Her guardian, Sabrina Morrissey, is practically running Wendy's life like she's the CEO of Wendy Williams, Inc., making every decision while Wendy herself is reduced to a side character in her own story. But this is where it gets even messier.
There was a radio personality once upon a time. Her name was Wendy Williams. And she was practically burned at the stake for talking about such. And now it's all come full circle.
Enter Roberta Kaplan, the so-called lawyer supposedly speaking on Wendy's behalf. Except, here's the thing. Kaplan isn't even representing Wendy in this guardianship mess. She's only involved in Wendy's lawsuit against A&E for the documentary Where is Wendy Williams?, which was approved while Wendy was reportedly incapacitated. Make that make sense, right? And Kaplan didn't stop there. She casually dropped a bombshell on the world, claiming that Wendy has frontal lobe dementia, a degenerative brain disease with no cure. Kaplan painted this bleak picture of Wendy as someone who has good days and bad days, but ultimately won't be able to take care of herself again. But Wendy's niece, Alex Finney, is calling BS on all of it. She's been leading the Free Wendy movement, saying her aunt is still sharp, fully aware of everything that's going on, and definitely not in the condition Kaplan claims. It's not just Alex either. Don Lemon recently spoke to Wendy and said she sounded exactly like she did a decade ago. Sharp as ever, but still, some people want to call her situation ridiculous.
I feel like I'm in prison. You understand? I can't go out. All I can do is look at the window, and anytime I go out, it's because I'm going out with the person that the guardian has assigned to me.
And here's where it all completely falls apart. Kaplan's entire argument is that Wendy wasn't in the right state of mind when she signed the A&E documentary contract, meaning she was exploited. Okay, fair enough. But if Wendy was really that mentally unfit back then who was her guardian? At the time, oh, that's right, Sabrina Morrissey, the same person who is still controlling her life today. So, let's break this down. Kaplan is claiming that Wendy was too impaired to make legal decisions, yet her court-appointed guardian, Sabrina, allowed a major network to profit off of her anyway. Like, what are we really doing here? And if you still have doubts, just listen to what Wendy herself has been saying. She called into The Breakfast Club and flat out stated, "I am not cognitively impaired. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like I am in prison."
Trapped in a conservatorship.
Well, first of all, to start with, I am not cognitively impaired. You know what I'm saying? No, but I feel like I am in prison.
She's not exaggerating. This woman, who is perfectly aware of her surroundings, needs permission for even the most basic things. Buying a hairbrush, going to Sephora, or visiting her own father for his birthday. This isn't guardianship. This is isolation. It's starting to look more like a situation where Wendy is being locked away, controlled, and deprived of her freedom while others make decisions in her name that benefit them, not her. It's all adding up to something far more sinister than just a guardianship. Intro 6. Now, let's rewind a bit and talk about how this whole thing began. The judge who placed Wendy in this situation was Lisa Soof. And here's the kicker, she was under investigation for allegedly accepting bribes from guardianship. Lawyers. There was a 6-month probe into whether she was getting a little too cozy with certain attorneys. So now, people are rightfully side-eyeing this entire case. And with good reason, Wendy's family isn't just sitting back and letting this happen. They're actively fighting for her freedom. They've been seeking a new attorney to challenge this court-ordered nightmare and have even reached out to Ben Crump's law firm to assess the situation. Meanwhile, social media is flooded with Humphrey Wendy posts, with fans saying there's nothing incapacitated about Wendy Williams. Mama is speaking very clearly, one user wrote. They're also sending shots at Sabrina Morrissey, Wendy's guardian, with people saying, "There's a special place for someone like you." At this point, people are drawing eerie comparisons to Britney Spears' conservatorship. And honestly, it's giving off the same energy. Now here's a theory that's been floating around. What if Diddy had something to do with this? Think about it. Wendy Williams was one of the only people in the industry brave enough to go after Diddy for decades. She exposed his secrets, called out his power plays, and never backed down, even when he had her fired and sent an entire girl group to jump her. Now, right when his empire is crumbling under lawsuits and investigations, Wendy just so happens to be completely silenced under almost as if this is no coincidence. People have always said Diddy knows how to make problems disappear. And if Wendy were free and in control right now, we all know she'd be on her show spilling everything. Maybe that's exactly what someone didn't want. Officially, Wendy was diagnosed with frontotemporal dementia and primary progressive aphasia in 2023. At least that's what the press statement said, but this recent interview has left people questioning everything. If she's truly that impaired, how is she sitting on The Breakfast Club, clocking Diddy's downfall in real time? If Wendy's right, these fires weren't just about destruction. They were about erasing people and evidence. And if she's telling the truth, we're only at the beginning of something much bigger. Ally Carter has been saying that more arrests are coming, and Wendy claims she has proof. Now, Hollywood elites are scrambling, distancing themselves as fast as they can. But why? What are they so afraid of? One thing's for sure, this is far from over. Keep watching because we're clocking Diddy's downfall in real time.